Hey friend, please subscribe and like the video. 1 second for you and a big deal for me. My name is Michael Reed. I'm 38 years old, and for most of my life I believed in duty. Duty to my family, to the law, to doing what's right even when nobody's watching. That belief carried me through 15 years on the police force. I wore the badge with pride. I thought it meant something. Turns out I was the only one who still believed that. It all started 3 years ago when my father died. He was a veteran, tough as nails, the kind of man who never said, "I love you," but showed it in 1,000 small ways, teaching me to change a tire, standing outside in the rain at my graduation, never missing a single birthday. When he passed, I expected grief. What I didn't expect was what came after. My mother, Elaine, started drinking again. My younger brother, Ryan, who hadn't held a steady job in years, moved back into her house to help her. What he really did was help himself, to her credit cards, her car, and whatever cash he could find. I tried to talk to Mom, to warn her, but she'd just wave me off. "He's going through a hard time," she'd say. Meanwhile, I was paying her bills behind the scenes, the mortgage, the utilities, even her medical insurance, just so she wouldn't lose everything Dad worked for. I didn't mind at first, that's what family does, right? But then last summer, everything shifted. I was working late at the precinct when I got a call from a real estate agent. She said she needed my signature to finalize the sale of my mother's house. I froze. "Sale?" I asked. "What sale?" She hesitated. "The sale your mother and brother initiated. You're listed as power of attorney." My stomach dropped. I hadn't signed anything. I hadn't even known the house was up for sale. I left the station, drove across town, and pulled into Mom's driveway. Ryan's car was there, parked sideways across the lawn like always. Through the window, I saw them. My mother sitting at the table, papers spread out. Ryan beside her, smiling like he'd just won the lottery. When I walked in, the air felt heavy, like the seconds before a storm. "What's this?" I asked, holding up the paperwork. Ryan leaned back, arms crossed. "Relax, Mike. We're selling the house. It's too big for Mom." My voice was calm, but my hands were shaking. "You forged my signature." He didn't even flinch. "We needed to move fast. The buyer's offering cash. You'll thank me later." Mom looked at me with that same tired softness I'd seen my whole life when she let him get away with everything. "It's for the best, sweetheart. Ryan's right. It's time to move on." That was the moment something inside me cracked. I'd spent years cleaning up after both of them, paying debts, fixing cars, covering bills, and now they were selling the only thing Dad left behind. Not because they needed to, because Ryan wanted a payout. I didn't yell, I didn't argue. I just said one sentence. "If you go through with this, you'll regret it." Ryan laughed. "Oh, come on, man. What are you gonna do? Arrest us?" I didn't answer. I just walked out. 2 weeks passed after that argument. Mom stopped answering my calls. Ryan blocked my number. I figured they just needed space, or maybe I did. I buried myself in work, taking every overtime shift I could get, just to drown out the noise. But peace never lasts long in my world. One night I got called to a domestic disturbance, routine stuff. A husband and wife screaming at each other, neighbors complaining. Only this time when I got there, something felt off. The man at the door looked nervous, too nervous. When I walked inside, I saw a duffel bag on the floor, half zipped, full of small plastic packets. Drugs, a lot of them. And when I opened it, my world tilted, because inside that same bag was a police badge. My badge. I froze. "What the hell is this?" I asked. The guy raised his hands. "I swear, man, I didn't touch it." They told me to leave it there. "They?" he stammered, eyes darting. "Your brother. Ryan. Said you'd pick it up. I didn't remember much after that, just the sound of my own heartbeat. Someone had set me up. Someone who knew my schedule, my badge number, my shifts. Someone who wanted me gone." By the time I got back to the precinct, Internal Affairs was already waiting. They searched my locker, my car, even my desk, and when they found a second bag, This one tucked neatly in my trunk, full of cash I'd never seen before. I knew. It wasn't just Ryan. He'd had help. Someone inside the department. They took my gun and badge that night. Suspended pending investigation. 15 years of service gone in an instant. And the worst part? When I got home, there was a message waiting for me on my voicemail. It was my mother's voice, calm, almost rehearsed. Michael, sweetheart, maybe it's time you stop fighting. You've always been the one trying to fix everything, but maybe now it's time to let Ryan handle things. He's family. He just wants what's fair. I sat there listening to that message on repeat, until I realized what she was saying between the lines. They weren't just selling the house, they were trying to erase me, financially, legally, reputationally, because if I went down for this, the trust fund from Dad's insurance, every cent would go straight to them. I didn't sleep that night, I couldn't. Instead, I started doing what cops do best when they're cornered. I investigated. I pulled records, I traced calls, I logged every movement. And what I found was worse than I imagined. Ryan had been talking to a detective in my own unit, a guy named Keller. We'd worked together for years. I'd covered for him more times than I could count. Turns out he owed Ryan money, a lot of it. Gambling debts, loan sharks, all of it. And Ryan had found a way to pay him off, in favors. Set Michael up, ruin his credibility, and all debts are cleared. It made me sick. But I didn't go to the chief. I didn't call internal affairs. I knew the system. If I wanted justice, I'd have to build it myself. So I started recording. Every call, every meeting, every lie. And I waited. Because people like Ryan and Keller always get greedy. And when they do, they talk. They say the hardest part about losing everything is realizing how quiet the world gets afterward. No calls, no messages, no friends checking in, just silence. That's how it felt the week internal affairs wrapped up their investigation. They couldn't prove I was guilty, but they couldn't prove I was innocent either. So they called it indefinite suspension. No badge, no paycheck, no pension. 15 years reduced to one sentence on paper. Pending review. I sold my car to cover rent. My savings drained fast. The department cut me off from all systems, so I couldn't even pull the files I needed. And the irony, the people who destroyed me were sitting pretty. Ryan flaunting his new truck, my mother pretending nothing had happened, and Detective Keller still showing up to work like nothing was wrong. But sometimes losing everything gives you a kind of freedom. There's nothing left to threaten, nothing left to take. And that's when you start to think clearly, coldly. One night I parked across from Keller's favorite bar and waited. I watched him stumble out around midnight, same routine every Friday. He'd drive 2 blocks, pull into a motel lot, and stay there till morning. I followed him once, just to be sure. The second week I planted a tiny camera under his car bumper, a model we used for undercover work years ago. By the third week I had footage. Keller meeting with Ryan, handshakes, envelopes, smiles, money changed hands, proof. I sent a copy to a friend from the DA's office, someone I trusted. He didn't reply right away, but when he finally did, his message was short. Stay quiet. I'm looking into it. 3 days later, my apartment door was kicked in, not by cops, by 2 men I'd never seen before. Big, silent, professional. They didn't say a word. They just trashed the place, ripped the hard drives out of my computer, smashed my phone, and left. No robbery, no threats, just a message. They knew I was getting close. I spent that night sleeping in my car, staring at the ceiling, trying to breathe through the panic clawing at my chest. I wasn't scared of them. I was scared of losing control, of turning into the kind of man I'd spent my life locking up. But when I thought about Dad, his medals, his folded flag, his belief in honor, it all came flooding back. They had desecrated everything he stood for, and I couldn't let that stand. The next morning, I went to my mother's house. Ryan was on the porch, wearing sunglasses, grinning like a snake. "Well, look who decided to show up," he said. "What's the matter, Mike? Miss the family?" I didn't answer. I just walked past him into the kitchen. Mom was there, pouring coffee like it was any other day. "Michael, sweetheart," she said softly. "You look tired. You should sit down." Her tone made my skin crawl. It was the same tone she used when she used to cover for Ryan as a kid, the same tone she used when she lied. I looked her dead in the eye. "Did you know what he did? Did you know he planted that bag?" She didn't flinch. "Your brother made mistakes," she said, "but he did what he had to. You've always been the strong one, Michael. You'll bounce back." That was it. No apology, no guilt, just quiet justification. I left without another word. I think that was the exact moment my love for her died. You can forgive a thief. You can even forgive a liar. But when your own mother chooses your destruction just to protect the weaker son, that's when something inside you hardens. From that day on, I stopped trying to survive. I started planning to win. It took me 48 days to finish what they started. 48 days of silence, planning, and precision. Because when you've got nothing left to lose, you stop acting like a victim and start thinking like a hunter. The first step was the data. I'd backed up every file, every photo, every message before they trashed my apartment. And the footage of Keller and Ryan? That was just the beginning. There were timestamps, text logs, even GPS records from Ryan's truck showing his visits to the evidence locker the night before the drugs were found in my car. It was airtight. The second step was patience. You can't rush revenge. You have to let them believe they've won first, let them get comfortable. So I waited. I let Ryan post his pictures online, showing off the new house he bought with business money. I let Keller brag about his promotion, and when they finally stopped watching their backs, that's when I made my move. I sent a single package to the district attorney's office. No note, no return address, just a drive labeled Truth. Inside was everything: the video, the documents, the fake title deeds, the financial transfers between my brother and Keller. It took 3 days before the story broke. Detective and local man under investigation for evidence tampering and fraud. Their faces were everywhere. The department turned on Keller in a heartbeat. Ryan's new business partners disappeared overnight. And suddenly my phone started ringing again, not from family, but from reporters, lawyers, even internal affairs. They wanted my statement, they wanted my side. But I stayed quiet. For once, silence worked in my favor. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my old captain. "Michael," he said, "they're clearing your record. Everything. You'll be reinstated if you want the badge back." I didn't answer right away. I looked around my apartment. Bare walls, no furniture, just the hum of the refrigerator. 15 years, and what did I have to show for it? A ruined family and a scarred name. I told him I'd think about it, but deep down I already knew my answer. That same night I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name on the front in my mother's handwriting. Inside was a single line. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed your own brother. No apology. No acceptance. Just blame. Like always." I folded the paper carefully, set it on the table, and burned it. A week later, Ryan was arrested. Forgery, evidence tampering, obstruction. Keller, too, he flipped fast once the DA started digging. He confessed to everything, even admitted that my mother helped forge my power of attorney. She thought she could manipulate the law like she manipulated her sons. But this time, the law fought back. The day the verdict came down, I didn't go to court. I didn't need to. I drove instead to the veterans cemetery where my father was buried. It was raining, the kind of soft rain that soaks you without warning. I stood there in silence, staring at his headstone. "Dad," I said quietly, "I kept my promise. I protected what you built." Even from them, the wind carried the words away, and for the first time in a long time I felt still. Not happy, not sad, just free. People ask me sometimes if I regret it, if I wish I hadn't gone so far, and maybe in another life, I'd say yes, but not in this one. Because sometimes justice doesn't come from a courtroom. Sometimes it comes from a man who finally stops letting the world walk over him. I never spoke to my mother again. Ryan served 18 months and vanished. I left the department and started over. New town, new job, new life. No badge, no uniform, no ghosts, just peace. And every time I look in the mirror now, I see the same thing my father saw in himself. Not a perfect man, not a hero, just someone who finally learned that forgiveness is a choice. And sometimes the best revenge is never needing it.